Hello and welcome to the Southbound Sports Show. I'm your host, Richie Leahy, here with my co-host, Matty B. And we're getting into, I don't want to call it the pre-hype season, but I was at the gym and I noticed that typically they always have on some random sport, you know, like, oh, here's tennis or whatever that's on in like the lunchtime break, like early afternoon. I'm trying to think of what time, like around noonish. Bowling, something. No, we're into the season where it's having the NFL hype rankings, where it's like top quarterbacks in the league type discussion. It's on like the front page of ESPN. And I thought, who is this for? The guys buying jerseys? Why do I need to know who is the best quarterback? We already know it's Mahomes. You can't rank them any other way. Until other people start winning multiple championships, you don't take it away from him. He could come out. Tom Brady has proven that Mahomes could come out in like a wheelchair and whatever. I know he has his knee injury or whatever, and he would still be the top quarterback in the league. Everyone's hyped on him. Everyone's ready to go and trying to see how far like he can take it. But there's no one else better. I mean, even on the NFC side, you have Hurts. And then, Caleb Williams now? He made the cover of Madden. And I just don't see the hype. Until he starts winning, there's really not that much competition in the NFC. I mean, I guess you have Stafford there too. And Stafford's probably like on his, last run? And they went all in with their trade moves we hit on a couple weeks ago. But I don't know. I don't understand. They're talking about how the World Cup, I don't know if you saw this, where the World Cup, the latest round, I don't know if it was the United States elimination or what, but some of the games were hitting like 50 million viewers in the United States, which I don't think has ever happened. And surprisingly, at the same time, FIFA was like, I think we should start bidding on the next World Cup now. Like the TV rights right now. And they opened it up. Now. Well, they were saying that when they opened it up after Fox announced, they raised the bid. It rose so high that they think Fox is going to be priced out now, which has made me kind of worry about it. I don't know what Telemundo, what their agreement is with Fox, or if they're even related at all. If it's Univision, I have no idea. But typically right now, you can watch the main games on Fox. If it's like a sub, whatever group series, not one of the top games, you can watch it in Spanish for free. All you have to do is buy the antenna that I've been telling everyone to buy for years now. If you don't know Spanish and you don't want to hear it, just mute it, right? Watch a movie, watch something else, and just have it on in the background. Have two TVs. That's the ideal dream setup. I've already said you could play video games, do whatever, and then have the game on. I mean, it makes sense. Like if your favorite team stinks, you can always put on the other game, and you're like, I'm gonna hate watch this while I cheer for my fantasy guy on the other team, on the other TV. But that's where I think having that access from Fox is good. And the rumor is now that the high bidder for the next World Cup might be NBC. And I hate their Olympic coverage. It's horrible. They have everything on time delay. It makes no sense. And this World Cup was in our, time zone? At least for the most part. Our half of the world. The next one, is it in Spain? I should have looked it up. It's either in Spain or the next one's somewhere even further, I think. And so, how are they going to do it? Is NBC just not going to pretend like the game didn't air at 7 a.m.? And I'm going to have to watch it on some streamed, the Irish, TJ Catter or something. I don't know. I'll be finding some other channel to watch it real time if that happens. Because there's going to be no way that you can say oh, I'm going to just turn my phone off for 5 hours until they decide to show the game, even though I know anyone I run into is going to say like, United States lost, or hey, we won, and it's going to spoil the entire game. I know that happens with football. Like you have an event, your kid's out somewhere, and you're like going home and like, I'm going to go check the game out. I'm like, no, your team lost, or they won already. No one's going home and watching a replay. I think Seinfeld did an episode on that where he did the tape and he avoided it all day, and then like someone spoiled it. Like right as he went to watch it. He's like, oh, are you kidding me? All day I avoid it. That's what NBC Olympic style coverage is like. And so I hate it. Horrible. I really hope, and the FIFA's going to go with whatever makes them the most money. They're very corrupt and greedy. Not going to lie there. That's why when I talked about, it wasn't really hatred for them and like their event. Like they put it on very professional. We've already talked that NFL teams are now considering more stadiums going to grass. Steelers are still listed as grass. I did look that up. And I think they had like 10 of them out of the 30, whatever it is, 32 teams that use grass. As part of my look into coverage of the stuff we talked about last week, like the WNBA expansion and some of the other ones, I didn't really see anything on WNBA other than they're trying to add teams, but I did see that the NFL potentially is trying to add 4 more teams over like the next couple years, because I don't know how they would do it. I'm guessing they would do regions or something, because right now if there's 32, it's perfect the way they have it set up with divisions, and the scheduling is great. If they went to like an old, and this would kind of work out from what I'm seeing, I don't know how viable it would be, because I don't know what cities there would be were the things that the NFL looks for. Because if they went to 36 teams, right, you could just do 4 divisions. And then you would have a West. I think the basketball does this maybe. And then an East. And that would get them into maybe, the only way I could see this really working is if they had like a 4 North or 4 East, Northeast, where they added like, because all the rumors are pointing at they really want to get a team in like London or Dublin or like Paris or something like that. Where if you had 4 new teams that are all the way over there, you really can't just tack on another like weird division. That wouldn't make sense. But really putting them in with like a 9-team division to like make the scheduling make sense doesn't really work either. Because in that point, I don't know how many games there would be if you played everyone in your division twice. That's like what, 16 games or something. Like you're way already over the schedule. I don't know how they would schedule it. I mean, yeah. I guess you could do, you play your division and one other division, and then have like maybe a historic rival. It almost have to be like a college football schedule, if I'm being honest. Or like not even like a rival, but maybe like how they do it now, where you face a similar team based on results from last year. Where like, oh, if you're in the Super Bowl, you're going to be like having a Super Bowl rematch week 1 before they get into the scheduled crossovers. And then that way, every team is going to like travel that far. I mean, is it really that much of a difference? And I honestly don't know. I didn't look into it that much. From like someone flying from Boston to LA versus Boston to London. I don't know. And how many teams are like close enough for that to happen? I think it would have to be, they would have to split the Dolphins out of that division. It would have to be like London, let's say London and Paris. And then you have Boston, like Buffalo, maybe, I don't know if you'd split up like the Ravens or maybe like the Commanders or something. Really try to get some of those teams, the Jets, maybe put the Jets and the Giants together. I think they like having the New York one split up, though. Someone said that one of the rumors was they were also, because of the success with the split from the New York, that if they added some of the European teams, that they would also consider having like a second team in Chicago which to me is just crazy. But I mean, it makes more sense than like, because I started this research based on just like seeing how viable it would be for a team in Raleigh. Like, there's no way they're going to put two teams that close. Like, you would almost have to move the team from Charlotte for the NFL, because they don't even like the team in Jacksonville. Let's be real. And they talked about, well, if they expand, you don't really have to move Jacksonville to London, because having one team that's out there and they're in what, the South? With like Indianapolis, like not even in the South anyway. Right? So you'd almost have to flip the teams anyway to make it work, where they would have to flip one of those weird teams just to make the travel work. And I'm sure, honestly, the way like AI works, you could easily just put all of the teams in and say, this is their location, base it on travel. We want all the teams to kind of travel the same. Split it like down the line. Here are the traditional NFC teams. Here are the AFC teams. Try to keep them in that split. If you have to move like maybe one or two around, see how it works. And then they would probably come up with the divisions with you. Because remember, the NHL did this a couple years ago. They moved Detroit when they expanded to the East, and now all of the NHL expansion's been out West. Utah, Vegas, right? Seattle. If you're moving teams around, they're kind of either staying out West or they're just having new teams start there. And the NFL seems like they're going in a different direction. They're not like adding a team in Salt Lake. They're like, we'll move the Raiders out of LA. That's why, because they talked about potentially splitting LA again by adding a second team if they move whatever, the Chargers and Rams, like around, and then they add one in Chicago. It's like they want two teams in each of the big three cities. Like, okay, that makes sense if that's what the NFL is doing, because you can split one AFC, one NFC, right? And then you have, if your favorite team's from a different, that's the logic behind it. You put one team in each conference, and then if you're a fan in that big city of a different team, good chance you can go see them play. Now, ticket pricing and everything is out of control anyway. So, I don't know. And the reason I brought it up, the Niners part-time owner purchased the Seahawks. I had been secretly hoping that we would get an investment group to go ahead and put it on the stock market like the Atlanta Braves. Because right now, that purchase price was insane. And that's like, I'm not pitching stocks or whatever. I'm just saying, as a team, you see the valuation go up. So if an owner would try to buy back the Braves and you're a stockholder, right? They're going to have to throw, based on whatever the market value is, or the Major League Baseball is not going to go ahead and accept the deal. And then everyone else is going to get a big bump in stock value. That's just how it's going to work. And so with all these crazy valuations going through the roof, I would have loved to see Denver. They're rumored to do it, and I don't think that they ever did. Or some other NFL team really put together a true public push. And I think the NFL would kind of be against it, because at that point then, if you have one team on the stock market, what do you do with like the Packers? Right? Does that just get converted? Like, they have the record, they could easily do that if they wanted to. And then what would the stock for those go through? Right? You have a team go private, public, whatever. I know it's in the bylaws or whatever that the team can't move from Green Bay, and I don't think the NFL would want to do that anyway. But would they have? Like, someone coming, someone could just go in and do the buyout just like any other. There are tons of other companies that go public and then get bought out and go back to being private. You can have the same thing with an NFL team. But I really think, my prediction is still that in the next, 50 years, if I live that long, I think we're going to see a lot of the teams go public, just because at some point you can't just keep holding these cities ransom and saying like, hey, I need a new stadium. I need a new this. I need a
Well,
new
and I think
that.
that's uh, Al Davis was famous for jumping from Oakland to L.A. back to Oakland, and trying to fight with the municipalities over building stadiums and facility upgrades and different stuff like that. And I agree. If you're gonna be taking public money, there should be restrictions on up and moving, because like, well, you're not working with us. We'll jump ship. And who was it that just the Bears moving to Indiana now? Like they're still the Chicago Bears, just not with a home stadium in Chicago.
Well, even whenever was it the Rams moved from Missouri, they had the new stadium, whatever, all that built out, and then the taxpayers are just sitting on a stadium that's not used. And it's not like they have. That's why I kind of like the agreement that like Pittsburgh and Pitt have, and I know a lot of people hate it. And honestly, it would be better if they did have like a smaller stadium on campus, and then if they had bigger crossover games, whatever, they could have it downtown for like some of the bigger marquee matchups. Because let's be real, a lot of Pitt games aren't like attracting a ton of attention in terms of tickets. But you can't tell me that when Notre Dame or Penn State come to town, they couldn't just go over to the Steelers stadium. If the Steelers were, and I'm not saying that they are, but like, let's say family moves on, like these other families, that's what's happening right now. They get bought out. Someone says, well, Pittsburgh's dying. There are a bazillion other cities that are way better markets. I can just move them. And then what? You have a great stadium downtown, right on the riverfront. Like, what are you doing? And if Pitt doesn't use it, who's using it? Concerts? Right? Lingerie league? I don't know.
Yeah.
Because that's where the Pirates are at right now. Everyone's crying for a new owner and all this stuff. And there's like a lockout coming. But realistically, even if like you went, like, let's say you tried to go like a public route and have it up as like a group that's doing the ownership, and anyone could buy stock, and like, I'm going to buy in, I'm going to vote and try to like get money raised to pump up our salaries or whatever. Great. But if you're not making the return and everyone's losing money, then people are going to sell and someone's going to buy it, and they're going to say, well, I'm going to move it out of Pittsburgh. Simple solution right here, bro. We already have a team in Philadelphia. Maybe Pennsylvania just can't support two teams anymore, and they move it to wherever. Because like, that's the next part. I think one of the NFL ones I didn't bring up was like Mexico City. It's not just that they're looking in Europe. They're looking to expand just internationally. Because right now, Canada doesn't even have a team. So you could very easily create that upper Northeast division with like, let's say, Toronto.
But that might create a little bit of animosity with the Canadian Football League.
And yeah, that's exactly why they might just jump right to Europe too. But that's like the thing with Canada having franchises in the NBA and hockey. If they want a piece of that pie and the NFL comes knocking, I don't think they turn it down. Like Toronto, we already know they can support the other ones. Like, hey, just put a team there. Natural rival for like Buffalo and some of the other teams that already have hockey teams as well. And then that's part of the shift. And then you add like the NFC, like if you have to move some teams around, you have one of the NFC teams then pick up the team in Mexico City or whatever Mexican city they're going to go ahead and pick then. Right? They really only need one, maybe two. Have one in there, and then add like even London and maybe one other one. Like, do they do Paris? They talked about doing something in Germany, and that's like where Michigan had looked at trying to do a warm-up game, like one of the first games over there this year, and it fell through. Other teams have done Dublin as like the Irish series or whatever, so it could work there as well. It just comes down to how many teams do they want to add, and is it worth it? I for the NFL, so compared to like the NBA and stuff, the NFL makes sense because then you can introduce football to a bunch of different countries. right? I know Canadian has their own rules and stuff, and it's getting like it's big there, but they have their own rules. So like people, they do commit. Like I know Michigan's had some guys come across from Canada to play like basketball and football, and even some of like the more. We always get like recruits across college football for like African players and even European players. Like Michigan had a couple of German guys come in for both basketball and football. So having that pipeline for the NFL where they're saying like, hey, maybe they don't have enough high schools here, but the NFL could very easily do what soccer does and do the academy route where, hey, you hit the measurements, we do like our own combine for kids that are interested. And that's our starting point. And we have an academy where they're going to school and then they're just training for football all day. Right. And then if they're good enough, then they just get college offers because that's kind of like the minor league system anyway. And then the colleges pay these players to kind of continue to develop because it's already happening. They're just coming like you're getting a guy that then has to be developed at Michigan. So it takes them 2 years. Or like when Penn State brings in a guy international, it takes them a couple redshirt years or whatever to get spun up and taught the game because they're like, oh, he just learned it. He's 18 and he realized he's 6'5", 300 pounds and can move. It's like, yeah, we'll teach it to him. You still have the negative stuff though. I don't know if you saw that new article on ESPN. I told you I went out for a lunchtime workout and I saw that they were doing a report on NFL players have died from dementia at a higher rate. They're trying to connect it, I think, to CTE, right? And so how does that help? Because you're having some type of like neurodegenerative disease. They're saying I think it was like 4 times more likely, including like dementia, Parkinson's, anything like that. There was just that other guy that died like a week or two ago that had like first stage CTE. But if you remember, because of all the headers in soccer, their rates were also higher. So does it really matter? Right? They're not doing the study from Boston University on soccer just because it's not big here.
Yeah.
It's not big business. So we don't know what's the difference. I mean, how many guys, if you watch the World Cup, and this is the thing that drives me nuts, they know the guys are flopping, right? They have a process where if they review it and it's a flop, they give the guy a yellow card. I think it was the Argentina game because everyone's complaining that Argentina's like they're sneaking through, right? Messi's barely, not even playing great. He's old. They're barely sneaking through because the one team, their guy got a yellow card. And if you get 2 yellow cards, it's like a permanent power play in hockey where you get 2 yellow cards, it becomes a red card. A red card means you have to leave the game. They can't fill in your spot. So this dude, you probably didn't see it. He already had a yellow card. I don't know what he did for the first yellow card, right? He goes to score. Instead of trying to score, he does a LeBron, like he sticks his leg all the way out, flops, pretends he gets hurt, and he acts so dramatic that they blow the whistle on him. The other team says like, bro, I didn't even touch that guy. Go to replay. They see his leg go flying out like a leg kick, like Conor McGregor injuring himself 2 seconds into a fight, right? Well, chicken leg. And then he goes down. And so, of course, the announcers were like, well, this is just sad now. Now Argentina's going to be on the attack for like the next 30 minutes. And it was going in the extras anyway. I don't even know how much time was left, but it was tied 1-1. But I was thinking, everyone hates soccer because of the flopping. They put in a rule specifically to stop the flopping. A guy gets caught on video flopping, he gets a penalty. Not their fault that he had already had another penalty. So this guy's a habitual line stepper, right, bro? Like Chappelle's show. And going across that line, he's gone. He's crying on the video. Is cracking me up because he was yelling like, check the video. And I'm like, yeah, they did. That's how they knew you leg kicked them. Like, you did your own leg kick. And then I think he was even he might have even been holding the other leg. That could have been a different player, though. I saw so many of these guys, and it's insane because in the game, if you watch soccer, I don't know how anyone from any country, I don't care if soccer is your number one sport. It's like the stupid things in football, like the NFL kickoff is so dumb now, and it's horrible. Like, no flow to it. I don't care if anyone likes it. Like, it has to be awkward. At that point, just get rid of it. Right? You're not doing the old kickoff where people are moving around and it's like actually entertaining. Everyone's lined up. The guy catches it and then he runs up into a line where people are just standing there to get him. It's like Red Rover, bro. Like, I'm watching a bunch of kids play at preschool. Horrible. I don't see how anyone can defend it. Same with the flopping. I don't care if soccer is your favorite sport. You have to know that that's horrible for the game. Where these guys fake an injury because every single time they're holding their knee or holding their ankle or holding their shin, and you're like, he could be dead. I don't know, but I'm going to assume he's faking it. Every time a guy goes down, I'm assuming he's faking it. And I'm just a casual watcher, right? So imagine how the officials feel when they're like, do I have to stop it for this jabroni? No. Look at him rolling around out here with just like he got shot, right? Looking.
They just leave them laying out there and just step over.
Well, that's what they started to do. So then the official's been giving him a hand signal. Like, he gives him like the scorpion, get over here. And then the player like jumps back up. Like, he's like, all right, he got me. I was faking. He knew it. Like, that's like the initial signal. He just clasps his hand closed. Like, you're done, buddy. Get up. And I thought, if you know he's faking it and the guy gets up and he runs like, I'm not stopping the clock. Get up. Put an end to it. Like, I honestly think what they should do, and because they already have the replays, they have the heartbeat in the ball. I don't know if you saw that controversy where like the Norway guy kicked it up and it supposedly hit the camera rope or like something in the stadium seat, like the roof, that caused the ball to go back down. They said the ball didn't pick it up. I mean, I don't know about their system, but they could very easily fake the heartbeat video that they made, right? You have criminals that can already do fake security camera footage at a gas station. FIFA, worth millions of dollars, can easily fake a line that shows no movement while the ball's on the air. Like, oh yeah, just freeze that frame. No one will know the difference. And then put it out there. I'm not saying they did. It looked like it hit. But again, it's also like a weird angle where the guy's jilting the camera because he's not expecting the ball to go up there. And so it very well might not have hit. I think more players would have been complaining on the field if it did make a big impact. Right? Because we've seen it in football. Like, yo, what are you doing? Or like baseball, like when it hits, everyone makes a motion and then like no one reacted really like that on the video that it looked like it hit from my perspective. Because I watched it a few times before this. I knew I was going to bring it up. And so they have that technology. They could have a guy, like I said, for the NFL, because the offside thing, you can't tell me that these soccer dudes can have an onside camera at all times ready to go with computer animations ready to go. And the NFL can't figure out if it's the first down. Right? And then I don't know if you saw this where they said that they could give it a like margin of error. That's how good the computer is, where they've been giving it like a foot or so because they know like, officials, they're not going to know exactly, like they're not computer accurate. So they're like, whatever. So like the NFL could do that and say like, for first down, we'll give them like a 6-inch margin of error or whatever, like whatever the chains are. Right. And you cut down so much. And then you still have like the human element wherever the guy spots it. If it's pretty close, then it just ignores it. Right? The guy should be able to mark it within like a foot or like 6 inches or whatever. But if he marks it outside of that, then it blows up the flag and tells them, move it back or move it forward. And then they measure it digitally. Like they could very easily do it. That's what I think. I'm hoping people that are casually watching, the 50 million people that watch World Cup, see the technology that FIFA has, and they're wondering why the NFL doesn't have it, or heck, even college football. because there's only so many lines. You can very easily have the camera in the stick, or like have it, the sensor in the stick where he puts it down, and then it like alerts like, okay, this is exactly where you are, and mark it that way. Give it a margin of error, play with the margin of error. You don't even have to make it public, right? Just say like, we're constantly adjusting it, because then if the official, like, you don't want the official looking like a jerk, because like right now they're doing that with MLB. Do you ever watch those on Twitter? It's like as bad as the NBA. Like, hey, here's our official breakdown where we roast the officials and show how bad they are on these replays, like after the game. Major League Baseball's been putting them out. I don't even know if they're putting them out or if like just fans are doing it, but they're doing like super cuts of all the missed strike zones, where it's like, hey, here's so-and-so, a new ump. Watch them call like everything like 20 inches inside as strikes. But they have the technology, so it's like, and then they have a sheet, dude, where they have how bad you are. And some dudes are like minus 40 because they're so horrible. But imagine like you being on your job and you just get your report. It's like, dude, you're the worst in the league, by the way. You're just like, dang it, I knew it. And it's not like you can go home and practice making calls, right? Like, I got to get my grade up. They're just like, no, we know you're doing horrible. We really don't have any other options though. So here's your score for the week. Horrible. Like I said, you should be ashamed of yourself. We're not going to put you on any good games. You're gonna be on the Telemundo games, sir. And he's like, are you kidding me? The hottest, sweatiest, most humid games. That's what you're doing. No one wants to do it. You get the last pick. That's what they should do. Like that should be a perk. Like if you're the highest rated ump, you get to pick which games you're doing, like where you want to travel. Like, I really like this city. I'll go there. Like now, like in the like early March when it's like super, or late March, whenever early April when it starts. You're like, yeah, I definitely don't want to be in New York. Send me to Miami. Like, okay, you're in, dude. Keep the ratings up. You're like, thanks, I will. Thanks, I will. And they put him in like a sweet hotel, like a penthouse suite. And then they already know, dude, they already have the scores. Because like right now, if you're the hometown ump for like Pittsburgh and you're like the worst, it's like, man, I'm watching the worst team, the worst payroll, and the worst ump. Like the trifecta. Which you could give tickets away at that point. But I wonder how much, because now that's the first time I think they said in the history of ratings that FIFA has passed up college football. College football has always been like number 2. Sometimes like the NBA, like when Michael Jordan was playing, it was high. But you still have those like premier games where consistently college football is number 2. And then probably NBA. I know some of the NCAA tournaments have been getting high and they've been pushing it. And then you have like what? MLB, then NHL. Depending, college basketball sometimes is like way worse than your typical MLB though. I think it's more just the tournament. Which, speaking of, FIFA's now working on expanding the tournament to 64 teams. Which, if they extend that group stage and like make it even longer, I don't know what they're thinking. Right? The knockout stage is the more exciting part of it. The group stage, like no one cares. Right? Oh, you mean the same teams get through every time? Awesome. Because like you're giving them like 3 margins of error. And if you make another round of that group stage just to make it longer, I know that's the best for them to make money. It's almost like I've been saying for college football. Just expand it and let every conference have one team in and expand it to whatever you need for that to make sense. Make it 24, and then that first round where everyone else gets a bye, you put in whatever teams. And so it's like a warm-up game, play-in game for like Toledo versus like A&M or someone. We joked about them last week. Okay, awesome. Like A&M, like they get the playoffs for the first time and they're playing Toledo. Maybe they can get a win and build up and then start to learn how to win. And maybe not. Maybe they'll just be like Tennessee where you win a couple games and you get bounced really hard and you're like, man, we were close. Close enough. Like Nebraska would kill for that. They would kill to have that success. Because on the other hand, I almost said the WNBA. women's college basketball, they're doing away with the regional conference split up, which to me is telling, because they said, oh, it's more about like the SEC and the Big Ten and whatever, the Big 12 and the ACC, where they get multiple teams in. But I really think it's because the SEC has been getting so many women's basketball teams ranked in the top 10 or whatever, that splitting them up has become so hard, and there's really no way. There's not that many great women's basketball players to split up. Like, that's a fact. So you have the same teams that are just having dynasties in college basketball, like Connecticut and Tennessee and now South Carolina. And then you have like LSU. So it's like, okay, we have a bunch of powerhouses and like 3 of them are in the SEC. Let's go ahead and just say, who cares what conference they're from? We're not going to try to like split these all up. If they end up playing each other, they end up playing each other. We're not going to have them ranked straight across. So we're not going to pretend that like the ACC team or like even the Big Ten team can compete right now. And honestly, it's the right move. Now for college basketball, the men's, I would hate to see them go that route, because right now I'm hoping that like with Michigan winning, and then who knows what's going on there with the AD and everything. But if you can keep getting in top players at Michigan, and then some of these other schools like Indiana now, that they're invested in sports, they're winning at football. Football's not their top sport. They want to win at basketball. And then you have Michigan State that's like, okay, we got to get Izzo another championship now, especially because Michigan won it. And so you have all these Big Ten teams trying to invest. If they would make a shift that would like kill some of the Big Ten, and I know they might be trying it out, because this is my worry. They try it out on the women's basketball side because it's a committee making the rankings. So you don't really know which team's better. And before, where they were trying to split them up, now they're going to see that ranking, and they're going to say, okay, let's just shift Michigan State up a little bit, because this could have happened last year, where Michigan and Michigan State then could play each other. We know they hate each other, and them playing in the tournament is going to be big TV ratings. Where last year they split them up, and they were in what, Duke's bracket with UConn maybe? Instead, if they would have flipped it and had like Michigan State play in Michigan's bracket, then what? You're eliminating the 2 top Big Ten teams, or at least you're eliminating one of the top Big Ten teams. For what? Ratings? That's what I think the women's college basketball is doing. Because they're saying like, oh, we already know that the SEC is going to have the top ratings, top whatever. And that's my fear for college football. Because it only takes like, okay, well, it's working with women's college basketball. Let's get rid of conference breakups. And I know they're not supposed to really do this in college football, but like you could have Michigan and Ohio State. They could set that up because they can do whatever they want with their rankings and then make it up. Like, oh yeah, Notre Dame, the 3rd. Oh yeah, perfect. Who did they lose to? Northern Illinois? Forget that, bro. That was like in September. This is playoffs we're talking about. We got to get them in there. Because like they got stomped by Ohio State that year, but they really could have won the national championship with probably the worst regular season loss of all time for a champ. I think right now it's probably that Ohio State team, right? That lost to like 6-6 Virginia Tech. I mean, someone else probably has another worse loss that they can think of. But those are the ones I would remember, right? How many other teams have had a loss that bad and then went on to win the national championship? Probably not many. Expanded playoff, though, that's on the table. And that's what I want to see. Is I don't care about any of the NIL stuff. They're going to figure that out. They're going to figure out the new eligibility where it's 5 years, 5 seasons or whatever. Of course, that's kicking in this year. And I don't know if you saw, there's a lawsuit going in from guys that could have played this year because they made the cutoff last year. I'm assuming they're going to get eligibility. I don't know how that's going to affect teams right now that are already locked in. If they get a guy back late, I would assume by the time it gets to court, football would already be started. It might make more impact for basketball. Because Alabama tried to add that guy from the NBA last year, like in January. They were like, we need him to win. We don't care. They can vacate it, whatever. We're going to win and go to the top. But that's what I want to see is if they're going to expand some of these like playoffs or whatever, I want more inclusion. Because I saw people complaining about the World Cup saying like, what? Now we're going to have all these smaller countries in? I've already talked about it, how like Poland and Ireland didn't make it. Are they really that much worse than like in Uzbekistan or some of these other countries? Probably not. Right? Let's go ahead and try to blow it up, because that's one of the talks right now is I've seen some proposals where you just try to get the Americas, because they've really put on a show for the Americas during this World Cup, where it's like, hey, we do include South America in this. Right now, it's all been North America. But what if they went ahead and just created like a super national, kind of like the European one, where now the United States is going to be playing like Argentina and Brazil in the down years. And to me, that's what you need to do. It's like when the Big Ten finally went and put all their powers in one conference side, that's when the Big Ten came back. Because no longer could like teams like Wisconsin just like fake their way through. And even if they did, then there's no way Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State are all down at the same time. The Big Ten was like, we're doubling down. And even if all three of them are down, you're going to get like a Michigan State that rises up or whatever, some other team. It's going to be, they have to rise up because you're fighting three of the biggest teams and best teams in the country. And that's what I think United States soccer needs right now. It doesn't matter if the United States can win in a division, no offense, with like Canada and Mexico and whatever other teams are in that division they're in right now. Because really Mexico and Canada are their top teams, but they don't do anything in the World Cup either. So right now the United States is basically like the Big Ten West champion. We're coming in, we're hot, looking good. You get into a game and then it's like, oh, these guys are better than us. All right, well, that's it. Right? We've got some trick plays in there. It's like whenever...
next year.
It was like when Michigan played Purdue and they had like that fake... What was it? The fake flea flicker or whatever. And they're like, yeah, everyone's like, that's a great play. Meanwhile, the game's like a 20-point blowout. And they're like, yeah, we had the good play though. That's like United States soccer. Like, hey, did you see how close we were, bro? That's why I think if I'm the United States right now, after this World Cup, I'm setting up an entire America's League with all South America and North America united, calling FIFA and saying, you know what? If Argentina wins, because Argentina's the last team in from that would be in that proposal that I'm throwing out there. Because you got Spain, London or England, NFL proposal still in my mind. And then you have, what's the other team? France. Bro, they're all right beside each other in the European League. So go ahead and take, like, that's how the United States can pitch it to like Brazil. Like, guys, you used to be good. Now let's join up so that now some of your international games are like, you're not just facing Argentina and like, I'm not saying the United States is better than all the other South American countries, but hey, like, look at your things. Like, you only have like 2 top teams. If we combine and then we have a top that includes like Mexico and Canada and the United States, maybe then our teams will boost each other up, where then you have like 4 or 5 teams battling it out, so that when we get to the World Cup, maybe then instead of only having 1 great team, we could have 2 or 3. And then that's it. And that's where I think college football and all the extension of even like the NFL and stuff like that, they got to be careful, because if you expand and add 4 new teams, how do you know 3 of them aren't going to be like a new version of the Jets or the Browns? Because in the NFL, it's kind of weird that you have franchises that are just known as being losers. Right? With the way things are with the salary cap and everything, how does it make sense that teams like Detroit are just known like, oh, those guys are losers? And then when they do start to win, it's like, you should really just be happy with what you've been given. Winning the NFC North. Like, don't get greedy. Officials making like bad calls against them. That should be expected. Right? So that's the main thing I wanted to riff on today. Is there anything that you want to talk about?
We had some breaking news earlier that Tom Herman's going to be joining the FSU coaching staff. So kind of interesting to see how that plays out.
And
there's some early indicators.
For people that don't know, he's Texas's old head coach. He was also the offensive coordinator at Ohio State that ran off Joe Burrow, I believe.
I think you're right.
So it's an interesting pull by them. So I want to get your thoughts on that. Because to me, that's not like a head coach in waiting, right? Like in terms of like, hey, we're going to get rid of you, Norvell, if you don't do good, and we'll just name Tom Herman as like backup, right?
I think it definitely puts, if there wasn't pressure, and I'm sure there was, I think it's there because with the coaches that they have on staff, I don't know that there was anyone ready or experienced to handle the interim duties. And I think that would have created even more of a cluster where I feel like you bring him in, and even though he definitely didn't do, he kind of imploded Texas there for a while, that if they do decide to pull the plug on Norvell early in the season, I think he could potentially be a guy that holds that interim title. And you know, I've heard some different names being floated as possible people to replace Norvell, but there was no one that was really there wasn't a wow factor of people that are willing to come in, and given the state of the program, I don't know if there was going to be that much interest, because you're looking at firing him, bringing a new coach in at a high salary, plus buyouts for the former coaches, plus the money. Like there's all these ins and outs of higher level stuff going on that you have him in, and maybe he bridges that gap. So I think it's an okay move.
And that's where with the new market, I don't know how teams are like getting prepped, because having an interim coach, I think it only hurts at some point, because, and I'm looking at it from the Michigan perspective from basketball right now. And I know Michigan has other issues, which I'll mention because I don't want people thinking I'm not going to talk about it on purpose. But right now, the internal report on the athletic department, I forget how they worded it, but the investigation that's been going into the way it's been run and I don't even know how to say it, like all of the issues that they've been having, right? Sharon Moore, Connor Stallions, the hockey team. There's been so many that it's like crazy that the AD is just like hanging out around. But right now you have that report supposedly coming out this week, and with Dusty May leaving to go to the NBA, it's like, what if the AD were just fired after the Harbaugh thing, right? Because that was like your job is to keep Harbaugh happy. You made him take a salary cut. You backstabbed him, right? You didn't defend him. You went on and were like hanging out with the college football committee and NCAA and doing all this stuff. And maybe you kept the university out of trouble. I don't know. But some of this stuff, to me, it could have been a one-day story. And I brought in some of the examples because everyone keeps saying like, well, Signgate stuff was worse than what they thought because Connor Steins went to that game. But there's proof from I think it was Baylor or Oklahoma State. There's been a guy that was caught doing in-person scouting. He was suspended for half of a game. So if Michigan would have came out and said, hey, we found out that Connor Stein's doing this, because the rumor was Harbaugh didn't know. He came out, he was super pissed. And the AD was kind of like, well, let's just hang out and see. And then it kind of ballooned up everything that's been happening. So if that's what this investigation shows and he ends up getting fired, it's going to make me think bro, we might not have lost Harbaugh. If we had fired the AD instead, maybe we still have Dusty May. I don't know what other athletic department can lose. And honestly, we've counting in Beeline. I know he didn't win a national championship. This athletic director might have lost 3 of the greatest coaches in America in a 5-year span, 6-year span, 7-year. I don't even know how long it was. How many programs would just want to have one national championship, competing coach? Not even saying winning, because Beeline he was in 2 national championship games and lost both. So just competing, how many teams would kill to go to a national championship? I brought up Indiana earlier. They would love to be even in the Final Four. Maryland hasn't been to a Final Four in 30 years of basketball. They came to the Big Ten. They were supposed to help run it. They haven't shown up. So having Manuel in there as the AD and having all of these controversies and having the hockey team where it's we're going to do an investigation and then we're going to fire him months later. Or, hey, we're going to make this basketball coach interim. And I know he's been a head coach before. Boynton, I don't even know how to say his name. He was at Oklahoma State. His record is not good. So if I'm looking at this just purely on a fact basis, I know he helped Michigan win the national championship last year as an assistant coach. I would have at least, and I don't know if this happened, because we don't know, because there's also an investigation into the athletic department. But Michigan still could have kicked the tires on a couple other coaches. Because Michigan's roster right now, and this is even being reported by ESPN too, which hates the Big Ten, they're saying Michigan's basketball roster right now is top 5 to top 10, no matter what happens. And so if you can pitch that to a new coach and say hey, we think with NIL, these guys probably aren't going to leave. Right, because it's going to be hard for teams to throw up cash right now in the off season. Actually, it's not even off season, right? It's summer workout program, probably.
Yep.
So how are they going to be bringing in? I know some teams would probably try to make it work, but Michigan could probably pitch a new coach and say, you know what, this is what it's going to be, and this is why I would be hesitant for Florida State to have this fall to their football program, where Michigan now has a 2-year deal with him. LJ Kaysen just entered the transfer portal as we're recording this show early. And I know he had an ACL injury, and it's been rumored that he's been looking to go out after Dusty May left, because you're going to rehab and then you're going to have a new coach. It's probably better for him just to rehab and then find a new team. Right. If
I think
being honest, but
with naming an interim early that has some level of continuity within the program and understands it may, I think where it helps you is that you're not going to blow up your recruiting because they already have a foundation. So I think when you're looking at firing coaches now, especially with this current recruiting cycle, if they leave and you let that coach go, not only are you having to deal with the recruits that for the upcoming class that you're dealing with, but also the people on your current roster have the availability to leave as well. So, I think you're really looking at, if you have a level of consistency, maybe you hold on to guys, keep them in the program, and can continue to build.
And that to me in basketball though, you only need 5 dudes. Michigan took how many transfers last year, right? Even in football though, Cignetti proved that if you grab a guy, because I was looking at what guys would jump right now. You have the coach from St. Louis. I saw him mentioned also. I was thinking of him because when Michigan played them, I think they played Michigan the toughest. And I thought maybe, I could be wrong, but I thought during the broadcast they talked about how him and Dusty May had like a friendly relationship and they used to work together or something. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't remember. I don't even remember the guy's name. I think it was St. Louis. Whoever Michigan played that was like a mid-major in the tournament, they played him tough, and they had that one guy that had all the nicknames. I think it was them. So call them up. Say, hey, we know if you hire you, you might lose some guys, but you could probably transfer some of your guys in, right? Because the same thing I think would happen if they hire a new coach, then those guys get to enter the portal. Right. It's kind of like the loophole for coaches going to a new team. I don't think there's a restriction right now. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think if your coach leaves, there's still a loophole where you can follow them to their new team. And so if Michigan lost a handful of guys that were transferring in, but a lot of these guys had already, before Michigan even announced anything, like who they're hiring, these guys locked back in because, like I said, NIL deal, you just won a national championship. Your coach just went to the NBA. He didn't jump to a different team. You're already going to play because you already locked in that deal. Who cares who's coaching you? You bring in another coach that has a winning percentage of his percentage was super high. I don't remember what it was, but a guy that's basically won at a high clip, and he had guys getting hyped based on his playing style. I think that's a win-win. Now, maybe they did call him. I don't know. Because one of the things that came out in this report that I saw, and I don't know, they didn't leak the full report, but one of the things that's rumored to come out is that Ward Manuel did offer Dillingham the job for the football coach, right? Back when it was hired, or back whenever it was reported, he kind of came out of left field. So I hope that if they make everything public, and I don't know if they're going to, but I would like to see what that discussion was with DeBoer. Did they give him an offer too? Did he just not entertain it? And so they went to Dillingham? Because from what I saw that was leaked out is that Dillingham supposedly didn't really, he was into it kind of. He called Whittingham, which I know is confusing. And then what did he say? Oh no, you know what, dude, don't take it. And then he took it anyway? Right? No, that's mine. You should stay in Arizona State. For a few more years, because honestly, right, I didn't even know he knew Whittingham. Personally, obviously with the AD situation, I think Whittingham was the right hire. Having another young coach in there after the last scandal, and then having the AD get potentially fired months after he was hired, that's not a good working thing. That's almost like if the new AD comes in, Whittingham's already so old. I think their first thing is going to be, they're going to be hiring a new football coach in a couple of years. They're going to be hiring a new basketball coach. And so they're going to have, I think the AD position is going to look very attractive. Hey, we have an NIL program that won 2 national championships in the 2 biggest sport, or won a national championship in each of the biggest sports. And we're going to have job openings soon. Now, hopefully Whittingham comes in kicking ass and we just hire within. Right? Promote Beck or one of the other assistants in there. And then things keep rolling. And we're thank you. Because I already saw, remember I paid my respects to Urban at the Hall of Fame. He came out and said that he thinks Michigan has the top coaching staff in the Big Ten. So write that down, Matt. I think he hates Ryan Day a little bit, right? He has to. Ryan Day is winning. Oh, sure. Is he winning better than him? I mean, other than the Michigan thing, if Ryan Day didn't lose to Michigan, or basically, if Harbaugh didn't get that salary cut that refocused him on coaching, and Ryan Day would have kept the jump on him, he would have been a step up on Urban Meyer, and no one would have predicted that. They both have one national championship at Ohio State, which is all they care about, beating Michigan and winning the national championship. So if he doesn't, they don't care about losing the Big Ten. Urban can come, that's why he always brings up his record against Michigan 7-0 or whatever. Because he has nothing else. If Ryan Day wins another national championship, do they even care about Urban Meyer anymore in Ohio? Would that force him to come out of retirement? He's that's it. And he ends up at Texas or somewhere. Florida. I guess he can't go back to, I guess he could go back to Florida. Maybe he could be your savior at Florida State. He's no, that's it. Go to Come here, baby. We're going to win the national championship.
They were an absolute disaster for a long time after he left. He left them in shambles.
Yeah, but you want to win the national championship, you got to take it. Florida State's been in shambles.
Having 25 years of disaster afterwards.
Yeah, but Florida State's been bad too. You don't want to see a little bit of green grass.
We had an undefeated season.
Bro, you got stomped by Georgia that year. That's like a Notre Dame undefeated year.
Oh, for crying out loud!
What would that record have been in the Big 12 or Big 10 West, bro?
Pretty good.
Hey, did the Big 12 have their media days already? Because it seemed like it was kind of early, and I thought I saw some stuff where they were pumping up numbers saying that they had the highest attended championship game. And I thought, what are you talking about? Why does it matter? Does anyone even care? It wasn't the most watched on TV, which is where all the money's coming from. Do you guys not know? Maybe I should call them up and tell them. So, I don't know. That's the last thing I wanted to talk about. I didn't want people to think that I was going to just gloss over the Michigan thing. I just don't know. I hope that if they're going to do the report, I hope they do a full report. I don't want to see some weird report. I've seen conflicting things where some people think he's gone. Some people think that there's not enough in there to fire him. And because he just had a coach win the national championship in basketball and they have a top 5 squad potentially coming back and he's good with NCAA, do you just keep him? Right? Who cares if fans hate the AD? As long as the AD himself doesn't care and he's like, I don't care if everyone hates me. Because I saw him getting compared to the Daredevil Punisher bad guy, Wilton Fisk or whatever. He kind of looks like him. Let him be the bad guy where all the rivals hate him because they're like, look what they're letting Michigan get away with. And Michigan keeps winning national championships. I wouldn't care, right? Would anybody care? I don't know one other team that could have an AD that rival fans hate. Like that they're like, we hate your team so bad, we hate the athletic director too. Honestly, I don't even know who the AD is at Ohio State. Right? It's not Gene Smith, is it? Was he the old president? I honestly don't know. But you know the Michigan State and Ohio State fans, they know who hard the AD is right now, and they're cheering for him to get fired because of the national championships. I honestly believe that. And they're begging that this report has the NCAA come back and try to open up other investigations, which if it happened, then Michigan's regents are just horrible. How could they have an investigation that leads to like NCAA sanctions? That would only happen at Michigan, like that Pure Michigan logo or campaign that the state runs. That's what it'd be. Pure Michigan. Reporting yourself, doing something dumb. When all I have to do is be quiet. That's it. But that's all I had this week. I have some other stuff coming up. We have some fantasy football stuff coming up, hopefully. But is there anything else you want to talk about this week?
Nope, that's it.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.